Hello, my friends, and welcome to The Secret History Living in Your Aquarium. I'm Alexander Williamson, and as always, I'm here to talk about your aquariums, my aquariums, aquariums in general. So, I want to show you guys something really cool. Okay, so if you've been following the channel, you know that from aquaticarts.com, I've always been very pro aquatic arts. They're a great website. They have great employees that work hard, and they have started breeding their own shrimp and fish in-house, and I think that is awesome. Now, I put myself up to a challenge, which was, is it possible to breed shrimp with just their shrimp breeding pack that you get? They have combo packs starting around 80 bucks. They go up to 200 or 300 if you want Silawase, cardinal, like really rare and unusual Caridina shrimp and so forth. But for Caridina, you can get them for a good deal. And I'm not saying the others aren't a good deal, they're just more expensive. So what I've done here is I have used a 2-gallon aquarium. Now, it used to be much better aquascaped, but the moss has started to grow everywhere. And we're coming up on a year, and I wanted to show what would happen if I just left it for a year. Now, I used Brightwell substrate, which is buffered with its KH and GH formulated for shrimp, as well as Fluval stratum. It's a 50-50 mix, and that's all I put in there as far as actual substrate. And then I added a little bit of crushed coral. And I added, in a 2.5-gallon container, I added a 1/4 cup of it and just kind of mixed it in, including the shells and things, in with the rest of the substrate. Now, I also included 2 Malaysian trumpet snails and a few of these ram's horn snails. I believe I put 3 in. And now I am to the point where I'm getting planaria, these little worm guys that will eat your baby shrimp, but you can feed them to live bears and other fish. So if you don't have a huge explosion of them, it's not the end of the world. But if you do get an explosion of them, I also should have a link in the description to No Planaria, which this stuff is the best working stuff I've ever found. It's just one natural ingredient, betel nut, and betel nut palm extract right there. And you use a little teeny tiny spoonful and put it in there right before dark. It's UV sensitive, so put it in before the end of the night of a day in the fish tank, and ta-da, it'll take care of all of that for you. So after a few days, these should all be gone, and they should stay away for 6 months to a year. Now, they're not seemingly depleting the colony at the amount that I'm finding them, and it's the middle of the night right now, so I'm obviously seeing them more active, and I just fed some of Shrimp Envy food, which both Aquatic Arts carries and shrimpenvy.com carries. I really like the people at shrimpenvy.com, and this is what I've been feeding, along with just allowing algae and biofilm to grow. I've been adding leaves and botanicals as well. So I'll add a catappa leaf or a almond leaf, as they're also known. Sometimes I add jackfruit or guava leaves, and I'll just wait until they break down. I'll also use cholla wood, which here I'll uncover it a little bit. Cholla wood right here, which is a hollow wood-like substance that comes from cacti. But you can see right now, we've got little babies absolutely everywhere, which is great. It's a good thing. And the other thing that you'll see in a shrimp tank, especially if you haven't been, treating it with a bunch of chemicals and things, is you'll probably see little tiny white dot organisms that are living on the glass. These little tiny dots. See them moving around? Now, those are nothing to worry about, even in the shrimp tank. And you can let them be. But what I like to do is wait until most of my baby shrimp that are growing out in a batch, and they tend to kind of be born in batches. I like to wait, and then I will actually take something like a tiny little betta. Let's see, where is my tiny little betta fry? He's somewhere around here. There he is, right back there. So we'll take a betta or some other fish like that, and I'll put fry in the tank, and then they have a food source for the first few weeks of their life. And as long as your shrimp are at least about 1/2 inch to 1/4 inch, they'll be totally fine. Now, I just used a shop lamp that was about $12 for this tank, and it's held up for about a year. I don't know how waterproof it is, quite frankly, but it works pretty well. It does warm the tank a little bit, so you may want to be cautious about that. Now, the bigger news over here is that going now for months, we've had not just the Caridina shrimp, but we've got a filterless, so there's no filter, no aeration, nothing going on here. We're just using what is rainwater locally here, and then I use water out of my this dirty, trusty, dirty old dehumidifier. And the dehumidifier water, as long as you're cleaning the tray and things, and it doesn't have copper coils inside of it, should be totally safe for your shrimp. Now, you do want to make sure that it doesn't have copper coils for its cooling process, because copper is pretty toxic to shrimp. But these are the Tangerine tigers I got from Aquatic Arts, and they're a Caridina species that's supposed to be quite a bit harder than Neocaridinas in general to keep. Yet, they're doing great. I got back from a vacation in Florida, and I didn't feed them for 21 days. And I'd been feeding them the Shrimp Envy food, which Aquatic Arts carries, and also you can get it directly from Shrimp Envy as well. And there's a code in the description of this video for the discount with both those places, and the discount directly from Shrimp Envy. Now, also in here, we have some little fish, like I was talking about before. Now, these fish are from Florida, and they are little hunters. These are Elosoma, and they're known as pygmy sunfish, and they are only going to get about 1 inch long, so not much bigger than they are now, but they would eat any little baby shrimp being born for the most part. So I have to wait till they're about this big. This is the only baby batch that was born before I put the fish in. And what they're doing in here right now is I'm trying them out to see if they'll eat the planaria and other little bugs. And in the process, these fish only eat live food, so it's a problem to try to feed them all the time. And it's working out really great. But I can see that I have some pregnant female buried shrimp, which is great, but it means that now I have to find, and we've got another one right here who's got orange eggs. It means that I need to move those fish out, or get those female shrimp out of there and put them into, say, another tank next door, so that their babies can grow out without getting eaten by even the smallest fish. But with all that being said, the care has been almost identical. A little bit of crushed coral, the same substrate, and water top-offs of just evaporation, not doing any water changes or anything like that. And in the case of this tank, it's actually right here by the window, and so it gets some natural sunlight. And I just cleaned the front glass, but it did have algae about to the same extent as the side glass here. And it is these biofilms that really do give the shrimp something to graze on, just like this one on the side is. And that will keep them full and happy most of the time. But to keep them at their brightest and most colorful, as well as having enough protein to reproduce as frequently as is evolutionarily possible, you want to get a supplemental food. So whether it's Aquatic Arts brand or Shrimp Envy brand or any number of brands out there, salty shrimp, things like that, you can choose the ones you like. I just happen to really like the Shrimp Envy brand foods because their ingredients are just really straightforward, and they're all completely organic. Mulberry, nettle, dandelion, kale, moringa leaf, spinach, spirulina, which is just algae, or cyanobacteria, but it's a good one. Then there's the bee pollen, the kelp, alfalfa, wheatgrass, pea protein, amino acids, aloe vera, beta-glucan, calcium, which is important for them shedding their exoskeletons and having the integrity that is needed to fully remove it in one chunk. Then I just leave their exoskeletons in there for them to eat later. You can see some of these big females, they get really big in these tangerine tigers, and they look pretty cool. They're a really fun shrimp to have, and they definitely are kind of an intermediate to the full Caridina, like crystal shrimp and things like that. So if you've had trouble in the past keeping Caridina shrimp or, you know, blue bolts, kind of the fancier ones, give these a shot. These tangerine tigers are really hardy, and they are a different species than the bolts and the Japanese ones, the Thai bees, the Thai bees, you know, all those ones. These are different. Also, I have some wild variety in here, which are called raccoon shrimp, and cheetah shrimp are also in here with them, just a handful from Grant EDER over at the Garden of EDER shrimp, and they have done just fine in here with one another, and so far they haven't hybridized that I've seen, but I've been really impressed with the fact that back in here, if we move things around a little bit, you'll see there's a lot of shrimp. In fact, we've got another pregnant shrimp back there, and this is all Suwassertang, and here's some more of the babies that were born after I got the shrimp. The shrimp that I got from Aquatic Arts, a few of them are actually pregnant, and one of them obviously had some babies survive. So here's another one of those babies, and another one right here, and then some of the adults, like this big old female with the orange eggs. But absolutely beautiful shrimp, really hardy. I'm really impressed. Their water's a lot harder than mine. Now in Seattle, my water comes out of the tap with a TDS near nothing. It's very, very low, something around 20 parts per million. And I know most people aren't fortunate enough to have that, but with a 2.5 gallon tank, you could literally go buy a gallon of drinking water or distilled water and then remineralize it to the KH of say 3 or 4 and a GH of 5 or 6 and a TDS of say 80 to 120, and you'd be right in the same ballpark that I'm in. So this is totally doable, and the reason I wanted to do it in a 2.5 gallon tank without filtration or anything is to see if you could do it, because the only way it would be affordable, you're not going to want to go to a 10 gallon or something to breed shrimp, but you could at least keep a line alive, but you'll have to remove some shrimp. It seems like 30 to 40 adults is max, and that's kind of pushing it. That's when you have a bunch of plants and stuff in here. After that, it gets a little crowded. But I've got other videos on all the different types of shrimp that I've kept, lots of different species, and on all Caridina shrimp. If you're more curious about getting into the world of Caridina, check out my video on the genetic history of them and figure out which ones are going to be hardiest for you with that video, and just get a good solid background before you jump into all of this, and I think it will serve you guys well. So that's just the update from the fish room. Thanks to Aquatic Arts for sending these out, obviously, and definitely check out the Tangerine Tigers, or if you know someone else with them, the wild type Caridinas. Malua Caridinas from Sulawesi. They're all very hardy shrimp in wider parameters than Caridina shrimp traditionally were thought to be. So a great option in the hobby now that has kind of been bred back and become more diverse than it was, say, 10 years ago, when these shrimp were kind of hard to keep alive. And really, cherry shrimp, for me, cherry shrimp, Amano shrimp, were kind of the only ones that I could, keep alive reliably at that time. So, if you have any questions, leave them in the comments below, and I'd love to hear if anybody else has kept these in a 5 or 2.5 gallon tank successfully, or filterless for that matter, successfully, because there is a lot less room for error, I will give you that, and you don't want to be putting medications and things in the tank as much, because if you mess it up, it's going to be catastrophic. But it does seem to work pretty well, and I'm actually getting light from another tank here, so I'm very happy with how this has gone, this experiment. And both with the Neocaridinas and with these tiger shrimp, I'm already producing extras from the breeder pack I got from Aquatic Arts. Alright guys, thanks for tuning in, and I will see you guys next time.